Greetings, people. It's Mr. Pull the Trigger yet again on another episode of the Enlightenment series. They have put their story again in another television channel. I don't even want to analyze this video, but I'm just going to produce it for record's sake. What I want to talk about is God's love. There's something else totally different from this broadcast that they did on another TV station. Damage control in the morning, damage control at night. Omoto is not resting. Each and every opportunity he gets a chance to contact a television channel and give them a brown envelope, he's utilizing it. And all in the name of trying to make Nigerians believe that the child was not missing. The child was missing. The child is missing. The child went missing. No TV stations can bring a narrative that can compel people to change what they know. Don't even try to trade on that narrative of saying that the child was never missing. Omoto for fame. I'll play this video again and again for you. This is not the interview. I want to play this video for Jeremiah Omoto for fame. This is going to answer the question as to whether the child is missing or not. Listen to this video.
Who is the prophet? Okay, if I want to ask somebody now, if this baby comes out, what will you do? What will you do?
I will rededicate myself to God.
You rededicate?
I will rededicate myself.
What about you? If this baby, hey, listen, take this my word. Even 1 second to this moon to run up, this baby that missing, you hear good news.
Amen.
Even 1 second to this month, I am what I have seen in the realm of the spirit. I'm seeing. If I carry the grace of Moses, if I carry the grace of Elisha and Elijah, if I carry the grace of Ezekiel, if I carry the grace of Joshua, if I carry the grace of Jeremiah, from now till the end of this month, before the ending, hey.
So the question again to Omoto for fame and his minions. What was Omoto referring to? Which child was he referring to as missing? What if the child comes out? What if? What are you going to do? If the child was not missing, what if it comes out? What if he comes out? Omoto is very much aware of the fact that testimony is missing. And the last time testimony was seen was at Mercy City. Testimony was abducted at Omoto's church premises. That is an uncontestable fact. No matter how much you can try to make these media houses tell your story, it's not going to change any narrative. If you do the statistics in this digital world that we are living now, TV, it's old school. You're just doing it as a formality, but no one really watches those foolish propaganda that you're doing on television channels. Everyone is here. The problem is you people, you undermine the term social media. That's the slang term for the current state of the internet. This is the new TV, Mr. Omoto. This is where people are spending their attention on. When was the last time you watched TV? You taking your money, going to give it to these media houses, TV channels, they'll only play it once. After that once, it's dead. People that will watch it, they'll be like, but when we put it here on Mr. Pull the Trigger, I can guarantee you one thing for sure. This video that I'm doing now, it will probably be watched by more people than all the channels that you have approached combined. Those are just the facts. So you're doing the old, way of trying to push propaganda using TV. It just shows that even the people that are advising you, they don't think. They have no medulla. They have nothing in their medulla oblongata. So this is an advice, again, that you need to consume, that you need to take. Your PR team must advise you that, Papa, it's better for you to go on your page. Do you know you can reach more people, Jeremiah Omoto, on your own public profile, on your own page, to address this matter than to go to these media outlets? They don't have the attention. No one is watching them. You're just doing it as a propaganda machine, thinking that people can be shaken because you've taken an article, a false story, to the media house. So if you say the child was not missing, as the news reporters are saying, the prophecy that you give, what did you intend to achieve? Which 4 days were you referring to? What if this baby comes out? The missing baby. You know the missing baby. We are not accusing you. We are holding you accountable and responsible. for not taking action when this child went missing. Mercy City indeed know that a child is missing. Who doesn't know that? Who doesn't know that baby testimony went missing at Mercy City? You Mercy City gullibles, stop being defensive for nothing. This is not time for war. This is time for justice. This is time to fight for humanity. More than fighting for daddy. More than fighting for your spiritual father. More than fighting for Omoto. We have a child that is missing. I don't know how we have to emphasize this so that it makes sense to some gullibles out there that are forever in defensive mode. No, you can't do that. You can't be blackmailing our papa. You can't be tarnishing. We are not tarnishing Jeremiah Omoto's image here. We are just putting pressure on Jeremiah Omoto for him to become active on this quest of finding out what happened to baby testimony, because he is within the obligation to answer to these questions that we are asking. A child went missing at your church. What did you do about it? Nothing. A child went missing at church. Do you have a CCTV footage to prove that the church has nothing to do with it? Nothing. A child went missing at church. The mother that lost the child told you that Emmanuel Marcus took her phone and took her money. What did you do about it? Nothing. A child went missing. The mother told you that Juliet played a role and she also introduced these women to her. Did you do anything about it? What did you do about it? Nothing. Those are the questions we are asking Jeremiah Omoto, because he can't answer all these questions. What are we left with? Other than to think that Jeremiah Omoto is the kingpin of the syndicate. This is just common sense, people. We have not yet gotten to a point whereby we are saying Jeremiah abducted the child. But the more he remains silent, the closer we are getting to that conclusion. Why is there no an active investigation that Jeremiah should finance and fund if he's so desperate to clear his image, instead of using media propaganda, instead of buying in these television channels and giving them false news? In another broadcast, they said Ruth found the child and she ran away to South Africa. She's currently at large. Why would you peddle such lies? Are you not ashamed of yourself? Do you look at yourself in the mirror and feel proud of yourself if you can lie to that extent? If you can spread such a narrative to these television channels that you are using to push your propaganda? Do you think lies are going to clean your image? The only thing that will exonerate you, Jeremiah Omoto, is if we can find baby testimony in whatever the case that can be cooked. If we can find baby testimony, and whoever comes forth with baby testimony can testify that Jeremiah Omoto did not have anything to do with it, that's the only time we will exonerate you. If the people that are with the baby testimony can be caught, can be found, and we establish the fact that Jeremiah Omoto has no ties with these people, I will personally come back here on this platform and say, listen, people, but remember, there's no any apology that should be rendered, because we are not accusing Jeremiah Omoto of kidnapping the child, but we are asking Jeremiah Omoto questions to say, Jeremiah Omoto, why didn't you do the normal thing, the right thing? Why didn't you do the noble thing that you should have done, that any man could have done, any institution could have done, anyone who have the legal obligation to make sure that the safety of people is observed could have done? Why didn't you do the right thing, Jeremiah Omoto? Why didn't you help this woman? Why didn't you assist this woman? That's the question we're asking Jeremiah Omoto. And if he can't give us answers, if he can't hold his subordinates accountable, we are going to keep on dragging Jeremiah Omoto for fame. And it is his responsibility now, if he's not involved, to start questioning Emmanuel Marcus, to start questioning Juliet. That is his responsibility. And he can do that. He has that capacity, he has the financial base to carry out that investigation, to take all these little bandits to court, to sue them so that he can be exonerated. But the fact that he's protecting them, he's covering them, he's even bringing in Mr. Ayo to try to protect Mr. Ayo so that Mr. Ayo can tell the story against Ruth Matthew. And all this trying to diffuse the entire story of the missing child. Remember, I meant to play for you the other broadcast. Or should I play it or should I not? Okay, let me just play it for record's sake. And then we can talk about what I want us to talk about. Some dots that I want us to connect as we move along, trying to find out what happened to baby testimony. What is God's love role? What is Jeremiah Omoto's role? What is Precious Lunga? Is it Lunga or something like that? This Zambian that is disgracing the nation of Zambia. She's disgracing the nation of Zambia right now. But just watch this broadcast that they recently did.
The Delta State Police Command has arraigned a middle-aged Cameroonian, Godslove Meba, in court for allegedly obtaining money under false pretense from a clergyman, Prophet Jeremiah Fufeyin. Asaba correspondent Austin Azo has the details.
Suspect is also allegedly involved in a blackmail and conspiracy against the clergyman Prophet Jeremiah Omoto over a missing baby testimony. After investigations, the State Police Command has arraigned the suspect at the Magistrate Court Efron Delta State. The prosecution counsel, Ms. Bibiana Agoje, alleged that the suspect conspired with a blogger and others now at large between March 26 and May 28, 2022 to use an electronic device to upload on the internet the photograph of a missing child's testimony, while accusing Prophet Omoto of being privy to the whereabouts of the child in South Africa. She, however, asked for the transfer of the case file to the Attorney General and Commissioner of Justice for legal advice. In her ruling, the Chief Magistrate, Mrs. Afonugede, ordered that the suspects be remanded in Warri Correctional Center for 14 working days, pending legal advice from the Directorate of Public Prosecutions. At the end of the court session, the police counsel comments.
The advice can either be let's continue with the charge, or they can just decide to give any other recommendation. It depends on them. From now, matter is now before them now. Police have done their own by bringing the respondent to court today, and he has been remanded. So we are now waiting for the legal advice to come out. The motion we moved today is for 14 days. So we wait. Hopefully the advice will be out before or on or before the expiration of 14 days. So from now on, police is done with their duty.
Austin Azu reporting.
We are not even going to talk about it, but yes, this is what they are trying to tell the world. And media houses are actually carrying out this story as if it is the main story, forgetting that the main story is that a baby is missing. What can be done to find the baby? These charges, they are not worth our attention. The pictures that are of which they say are not testimony are not worth our attention. What should be making rounds in these media houses is that a baby went missing. What can be done to find or to launch a thorough investigation to find this baby boy? The questions, the dots that I want us to connect here are these. If Jeremiah Omoto got Godslove arrested, after Godslove had sent Jeremiah Omoto a recording telling Jeremiah Omoto that he knows where baby testimony is, why did Jeremiah Omoto go to the extent of arresting or getting Godslove arrested? Why did he not have the patience to wait for Godslove and find out if Godslove really knows where baby testimony is? Why didn't he have that patience? Why didn't he wait for Godslove to carry out his operation after they had paid him? That's a question that we need to ask. What was the time frame between the time Godslove was given money and the time Godslove was arrested? What was the duration? What was the time frame? So that we can actually say, okay, Jeremiah actually paid this guy to try to find help from this guy so that his name can be exonerated. The other side of the coin, it reads, what if Jeremiah Omoto arrested this guy because he knew that this guy is lying? And the only way he could have known that Godslove is lying is because Jeremiah Omoto knows the truth. Because Godslove can go to Jeremiah and lie to Jeremiah and scam Jeremiah. And the reason why Jeremiah could have given Godslove money, he just wanted to have a case of blackmailing. So he deliberately and intentionally sent that money to Godslove to say, okay, take that money. As soon as he sent that money, he went on to arrest him. And the only reason why he could have arrested him instantly is because he knows Godslove is lying. And how does he know that Godslove is lying? Because he knows where baby testimony is. He knows the truth about baby testimony. That could be the only reason. I was never going to arrest Godslove because I was still in between trying to analyze to find out if this guy really knows. I was going to give him enough time to analyze him to know if he really knows where baby testimony is. After he answered, or after I would have asked him all the questions I wanted to ask, then I was going to say, okay, let's do this. What made Jeremiah Omoto arrest this guy so quickly after transferring money to him? Is it because he knows that the story that Godslove is bringing is not tallying with the truth that Jeremiah and his team know? So now that it was more like an opportunity to them to say, okay, now that we have this scammer, can't we use this for damage control? Can we use this to sell a different narrative to the world? That this guy wanted to blackmail us. But let's kill two birds with one stone. Let's also implicate Ruth Matthew, and let's also implicate Prof X, because they did not know the nature of the conversations that I had with this guy. They did not know the history of me and God's love. They did not know I had all that evidence of God's love being the one approaching us and God's love being the one soliciting funds from us. So to them, they thought this was a good card for them to play, which actually backfired to them. And the only reason why they could have arrested this guy, took him all the way to court and tried to prosecute him and lay charges on him is because they know he's lying. And how do they know he's lying? Because they know the truth. They know the truth about baby testimony. So if someone comes and tells you a story about someone, because God's love could have been naive to think that Jeremiah Omoto is innocent. Let's say God's love wanted to extort money from Jeremiah or blackmail Jeremiah Omoto. He could have approached him thinking that Jeremiah actually does not know. Only to find out that the people that he's trying to scam, he's trying to scam a scammer. The people that he's trying to manipulate or blackmail, they know the truth. So he kind of entered in the lion's den, unprepared, with this story of sympathy. Oh, Papa, I want to help you. I know where testimony is. Imagine telling that to Jeremiah Omoto, that I know where testimony is. Yet Jeremiah Omoto knows that you do not know where testimony is. Do you get what I'm trying to say here? This is just another school of thought that we can all dwell on and analyze. That is if they were not working together. It's just another angle that we can look at this from. The reason why Jeremiah Omoto got God's love arrested. Because he definitely cannot arrest God's love because of 1.3 million naira. Jeremiah Omoto is a giver. He's a cheerful giver. 1.3 million, a billionaire, can actually run, television streets complaining that I was blackmailed of how much? 1.3 million. And actually have some propaganda to say God's love might spend the rest of his life in prison for this crime. The judiciary in Nigeria. So for blackmailing, you can go to prison for the rest of your life. For blackmailing, how much? 1.3 million naira. You can actually go and serve a life sentence. I don't know, people, if you get what I'm trying to say here, if we are on the same page, as to the reason why Jeremiah got God's love arrested, or God's love detained or charged to court. It can only be because Jeremiah Omoto could not buy the story of God's love because he knows the truth about the truth. And God's love could have been naive to think that Jeremiah Omoto is innocent. That's why he approached Jeremiah Omoto and tried to con Jeremiah Omoto and lie to Jeremiah Omoto that he knows where baby testimony is. It's different in our situation where God's love approached us and told us that he knows where baby testimony is. We could have been gullible to think that he actually knows because we don't really know if he knows or not. But in the case of Jeremiah, maybe he knows. That's why he got him arrested. That is if they were not doing this together. So what do you think? Let me know. Analyze it, critique it, and let's share some ideas as we move a step closer to getting baby testimony back, because that's where we are headed. And before we get there, before we bring the boy back, we need to establish all these facts. Because in the petition, some of the petitions that we will be writing, all these are things to consider. All these are things to look at. So let me know what you think in the comment section. And don't forget to subscribe to Mr. Pull the Trigger. And I'll check you out on the next episode of the Enlightenment series. And don't forget as well to click the notification icon. I want you to know every instance when I post a video so that we can debate the issue while it is still hot. So yes, people, that's my story and I'm sticking to it. I'll check you out on the next episode of the Enlightenment series. It's Mr. Pull the Trigger. I'm out.
Zoom people, if the baby come out or from anywhere, are you ready to celebrate with me? That accusation. How are you going to worship this God if this baby come out? If this baby comes out, how are you going to? Oh my God.